This is the Magic Experience. Your hostess, sexual alchemist Michelle Torrance. This is a delicious conversation on sexual alchemy, body reconnection, and conscious communication. We'll get witchy, sexy, and magical, connecting with each other on a deep, intimate basis, learning, healing, and rising into the human experience we deserve, our magic experience. So grab some cannabis, sit by the pool, and let's chat. Hello, and welcome to this episode. What a motherfucking time. Holy shit. Before we go anywhere, let me just go ahead and remind those of you who have littles around, or if you're in a space where cursing or, language is can affect you, then let's go ahead and make sure that you got your earbuds on or your headphones, or you're chilling in the bath with no one giving a fuck about what's going on. So I'll give you a second, grab all that stuff. In the meantime, grab cannabis, grab some water, grab some coffee, grab some tea, whatever it is. Maybe it's gin and juice, maybe it's wine, who knows? Because here we are in the middle of this quarantine time, right? What a time in history. I've been pondering back and forth in my head, really, what am I going to talk about? There's so much to talk about. I thought, what if I just do a series of ramblings, a day in the life of Misha? Because there's really so much to address, and it's like, here's the thing. Here's what I find myself recognizing within myself at a deeper level. My partner, my husband, my best friend, he calls me out on stuff with loving energy all the time. Definitely the Knight of Swords energy. If you're familiar with the Knight of Swords, it can be a harsh message, but it comes on a white horse, right? So that's the truth. It's purity. It's love. It's awareness. It's that gift of reflection coming back to you. So I realized, again, at a deeper level, as he was calling things out, is that I put timelines on myself. And I talked a bit about this in my stories. But I put timelines and deadlines on myself, which is so funny because ultimately time is an illusion. So that's me playing the 3D game, right? I'm throwing myself in the thick of it. However, I get to the point where I fall into old habitual paradigm habits and thought processes where I fall into the codependency aspect, my worthiness. If I don't get this done by a certain time, then I am not worthy of whatever it is, right? And I think a lot of this falls into with generator, which is what's so interesting as to why roughly 70% of human population is generators, right? If you're familiar with your human design. If you're not, I definitely highly encourage you to check it out and, find coaches. There's lots of beautiful coaches out there who, I keep running my chin into the mic, so hopefully it's not like bumping it. Who can help with explaining your human design and charts and all that stuff like that. It can get pretty deep. So on a very surface level, maybe just scratching the surface through with our conversation on it. And there's quite a few things that I'll be scratching the surface through and encouraging you to go research and connect with others who are really deep into their craft with these things. My specialty, my craft is sex. It's sexual energy. It's sexual transmutation. In fact, when I pulled my divine feminine card for this week, Isis showed up, which, she is the goddess of magic, and sacred sexual energy is sacred. Our sexual energy is sacred, which traveling down a little rabbit hill and going down this path real quick, everything in our life is sacred, right? Waking up is sacred. Taking our breath is sacred. Washing our hands is sacred. Working out is sacred. Thinking is sacred. Hugging is sacred. Doing the dishes is sacred. Every single thing in our life is sacred. And so our sexual frequency and energy and experience is no different. So maybe that'll be another episode, huh? So anyway, but there's lots of wonderful people out there. So I digress. If you are new to my show, I can tend to ramble quite a bit and digress, but I'll find my way back. I'm usually led and channeled, and if I start to think, sometimes it'll stop the flow. So my goal is to just hang out and flow and let whatever channel come through. So, whew. So anyway, so generators, right? 70% of the human population is generators, and that's basically, we have this innate desire, this innate energy, this innate fuel, push, whatever you may call it, to go, right? We want to go until the very end, right? So for me, I feel satisfied at the end of the day when my body feels physically like tired, like I feel like I have exhausted every aspect of my being. So that way when I go to sleep, I'm fully recharging. And I feel satisfied. I feel like I've contributed in multiple ways, not only to my individual life experience, but to the collective life experience. And the majority of us, as we are born into this frequency, and many of us as we grow, and a lot of these new generations we'll see definitely don't fall into that codependent frequency very easily. They can feel that difference, that shift that those of us have been trying to heal. See, I feel like codependency is really the base addiction that runs through the human collective. And when we are feeling this codependency, we are seeking our worthiness through somebody else's approval, through somebody else's validation. And a lot of generators tend to do that. And so for a lot of us to feel satisfied, we have to put timelines and deadlines and stuff for us because we want to get as much done as we can. But here's where the problem is too. We tend to block our sacral chakra so much. It's imperative, excuse me, that our sacral is flowing and in line. All of our chakras are flowing in line, but our sacral is really where we take the lead from, which is no coincidence that I'm a sex coach, and that right now we're in a frequency of transmuting sexual shame and trauma into empowerment. And sexual shame and trauma comes in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. It's coming from other dimensional frequencies. It's coming from different life experiences that you have experienced and those in your life experience have experienced. I mean, it's a web. What a web we weave, right? So like, we are living in this cosmic web, and everything is connected. And so 70% of us, roughly, right, are going through this transition, this transformation, this transcendence of transmuting trauma around our sexual energy, our frequency, which ultimately is our life experience, our core frequency, our wholeness, the core alignment, right? Because our creative energy, our creative life force is our sexual energy. It's all one and the same. And so with this trauma, with this shame around anything that has to do with our sexual frequency, and that is quite a bit, everything that has to do with creation, things that we create, our empowerment through our creation, our sensuality, our relationships with our bodies, right? Remember, the body, we are not the body. The body is its individualized, its own cellular organism that we are co-creating together. So we are co-creating this life experience with this physical third dimensional body. And as we are rising into the, excuse me, the fifth dimensional awareness, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. A little ASMR there for some of those out there. I was thinking about doing a channel. Anywho, I digress. But as we could rise into our fifth dimensional awareness, right, this awakening, right, we're talking about this awakening. There's so many different frequencies out there right now. There's so many different perspectives. There's so many different life experiences, and everyone is starting to stir and awaken in their life experience at their own frequency level, but everybody's rising up in their certain way. So while I'm on this particular frequency and you're on this particular frequency, somebody else is on this particular frequency, and all of us are rising up together, just at different levels of awareness. It's no other dimensional awareness or thinking or consciousness is better than the other. And I was listening to and just listening to some guides, and I was watching this interview, and they were talking to a channel of like ninth dimension Pleiadians, right? And they were saying that there's no higher consciousness or higher awareness in the frequency that is better than the other. There's still issues. There isn't this actual utopia. And it's funny, I used that word the other day when I was talking to Sean. But like, there's no utopian frequency. Everything comes with its particular game and experiences. And right now we are in this three-dimensional experience, technically fourth dimension because we see in three-dimensional. So we are fourth dimensional beings rising into the fifth dimensional consciousness awareness. And so recognizing that our relationship with our body is a co-creative experience. Oh my goodness. It's this good weed. Hold on. So as we start right now, 70% of us in this generator frequency, which is this base frequency of codependency, we are becoming aware that time is an illusion and that we don't need to set our worthiness through completing certain tasks or goals or challenges by a certain time, because it's all happening now. And so it's kind of hard for us to kind of grasp that concept, A, as individuals, and B, as a collective, that time really is an illusion, because as soon as we start to do that, we tend, like they were saying, it's true, we like go out of our bodies, really. We can't really comprehend that on this third dimensional egoic frequency. And getting to the fact of our ego, right? I've heard, get rid of our ego, stop, let your ego go and all these things. We want to recognize that our ego is also part of our life experience here. And we have this ego as part of a survival guide, basically, right? Everything has like a survival guide to it, right? And our ego is that. The issue is when we let the ego lead through experiences where it takes away our grounded faith in our awareness and consciousness and universal support. When we fall too much into the thickness of the game, and we forget. And that's one of the reasons why we came here. We had that awareness to forget where we came from, who we are, right? That we are part of source, right? We are the wave, but we are also the ocean, right? And so we came here to forget that. And this is the game. Our game is finding these solutions and connecting the dots, and awakening and becoming more and more consciously aware. And so our sexual frequency, our sexual energy, our sacral chakra is really where all of that kind of comes through and is manifested through into this dimensional world, into this earthly realm, right? And so when we have trauma in our sexual frequency and our relationship with our body, right, where we hate our body, we're talking to our body. It's like, if you're talking to your body, what are you saying to your body? Because it'd be exactly what you would say to your best friend, what you would say to your partner. And this is really when I had that conscious awareness, right? Because I've always had eating disorders. I was addicted to food from the age of 5. Then of course those addictions went up because I was consciously chasing this validation of empowerment because I wasn't receiving the connected relationship and connection that I was wanting with my primary caregivers. I mean, I had, my parents are great people. They are their own thing, but our relationship is definitely not cohesive and connected where many others are. And I've gone through a lot of grieving processes through this. I've gone through multiple layers of grieving processes with my relationship with my mother, which is one of the main reasons why I help women through this mother wound aspect and the witch wound aspect, because it's all connected as well. So again, another ramble. I go off to it. Sorry about all that. No, I'm not. Anyways, so the majority of us right now in this current time where we are in this frequency of learning how to communicate, how to have compassion and connection when we are required in this world right now to stay away from people, right? As humans, we're here to experience these 5/6 senses, and there's lots more senses that we have that we're just not consciously aware of. But again, that's part of the game. So, we came here as human to experience these senses, and the fact is right now we're being asked to not connect in a physical way, whether that's platonic, romantic, or not. You know what I'm saying? And like we're asked to stay 6 feet away from people. So like with friends, we can't run up and give hugs, and just being close and connected with people, right? So we're also learning for many people out there who are now working from home, and both them and their spouse, their partner, right? And learning that communication is an issue. There's a lot of relationships out there that are struggling with learning how to communicate. Now, I have an older episode on conscious communication, but I'm going to touch into that today. So, we'll touch into that in a little bit, but so there's relationships right now that are going through intense transformation. And some people are recognizing and realizing that they are wanting this deeper, connected, compassionate, and communicative relationship with their partner. Or B, they recognize that there's been bypassing with their partner and with their life, and they can no longer bypass their day-to-day life, and they're forced, basically. That mirror's there. So there's a lot happening in the world, and a lot of this as well with ourselves: communication with ourselves, compassion with ourselves, connection with ourselves. We're recognizing ways and who we are with our ways of responding. So let's start to dive in so this episode isn't like an hour long. Communication, let's start there, because everything begins with communication. And like we were starting before, and when I was talking about us being generators and that satisfaction and that codependency, that worthiness through that contributive energy and that feeling of the physical feeling of exhaustion, right? Communicating with our body is extremely important, because our body is our first mate. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are the captain, our body is our first mate, and our ego is our training mate, is our survival guide. But ultimately, everything begins with our feeling. We are energetic beings, right? Energetic, emotional beings, energy in motion. Anytime we are experiencing motion, we are experiencing a flood of energy that's sweeping through, just like that wave, that is giving us that experience that we want, that is part of this life game, life experience challenge that we are here to do. And so we have been bypassing because we have been feeding this fear, and that we aren't worthy enough unless we do this, or that, we've got to do this, and then if somebody validates that, then it's okay. And then, all of these things, right? So communicating with our body is first and foremost. So during this time, how are you communicating with your body? How can you communicate with your body? Are you loving your body? Are you telling your body how much you hate it? Are you telling your body how much you love it? Are you rubbing your body? Are you taking care of your body? All of these things, when we start to have a reconnected and a healthier relationship with our body, when we are creating and when we're disconnecting and detaching old brain connections, and we are reconnecting and recreating new patterns within our brain frequencies and everything that's going through there. And we're doing it through our emotional awareness, through our sacral chakra, when we are allowing ourselves to fall into the trust of our body, right, then we are able to start to communicate with others differently. We have this empowerment. We have, when we are able to do this, and this is why it's the triad, and this is why I really work with all three of them, right? Our sacral is the center for me and how I work with people, because our lower chakras as human civilization, we are really not fully um, um, uh, aware of how we can utilize these four as part of the manifestation process, right? We're starting to awaken with our crown, our third eyes. Like, we can go into these amazing realms and have all of these wonderful things, but actually grounding this, right? And so our sacral chakra is the connection of that. It's the connected area from that, right? Of course, our heart, it goes through with our emotions, but our sacral is really the manifesting creative chakra that we need to utilize to bring it through in this lower triad, right? Because once we're able to have a new and healthy relationship with our body, we feel more secure. So we're grounded within ourselves. So our root chakra starts to feel more open and more aligned, more healthy, more conscious, right? Our chakra systems are conscious of themselves. And so when we can have a conscious root chakra, then our conscious root chakra is able to ground us into the security and safety and the trust and the knowing, no matter what, we are supported. Right? And then because we have that grounded security within ourselves, and we have this healthy, sensual relationship with our body, this passionate, joyful relationship with our body, we feel empowered. So here comes our solar plexus, right? And so here we are feeling empowered in who we are, our I am. And so when we are feeling secure and grounded, and we are feeling empowered in our I am, then we are fully manifesting the creative desires that we are feeling and we want to see within our crown chakra, our third eye, all of these things, right? Then we are manifesting it through our sacral chakra. So communication is so important with ourselves first. So then let's move into communicating with our partners, right? It's so important to recognize, no matter who we are looking at, who we are talking to, whether it's our husband, our wife, our spouse, our partner, our children, our boss, our friends, our whoever it is. This is where compassion steps in as part of that communication. We need to recognize that every single person that we are communicating with is their own life experience as well. So they have their own pains and traumas that they're going through that you don't know, that they don't even know about, whether that's, again, different lives and life experiences, whether that's trauma from family passed down, we don't know. So having compassion for that other person and taking a step to the side. You hear me talk a lot about this if you've been with me for a while. You know, we hear people say, take a step back and look, right? And that's great. When you want to take a step back, you can take a step back and look at the big picture of everything, but you're still looking at it from the same perspective. So when we take a step to the side, turn and look at the experiences that we have been experiencing, we're seeing things from a new perspective. So then you can look at your partner, instead of seeing them as your husband or your wife and, oh, my husband and this, my wife this, you can see them as a specific individual. My partner is their own human. They are experiencing their own personal awarenesses and conscious awakenings and traumas and transmutations and fears and excitements and joys and passions. So when we do that, we can have that compassion, then we can remove any sort of expectations. We can remove any sort of feelings of worthiness based off of their responses, because ultimately it doesn't matter what anybody else's response is to you. It's ultimately your grounded response and understanding that your worthiness is not at stake or at play in any way, shape, or form. Your worthiness just is. It just is. I am that I am, right? I am worthiness. I am joy. I am love, because we are the part of source energy, right? We are part of the universal core frequency. We're just different expressions of it, playing certain games in different dimensional awarenesses. So I just took a sec there. I was just feeling that for a minute. I'm like feeling it. I'm like, that compassion for ourselves is how we ground that frequency into this earth. which grounds into the soil, which grounds into the trees, which grounds into the animals, which grounds into every single thing. And it ripples through, it uses the roots of everything down in there, and it travels throughout. And then when we can use compassion for somebody else, we can remove any sort of fear or expectation of any sorts. And not only does that remove you from this illusion of control and power over something that you have no control and power over, and it also removes them from that. So not only when you you are coming to somebody to communicate with compassion for yourself and for them, it removes this defensive on guard experience, right? You're not meeting up with the wall. You're not running into a wall. So if there's something that you want to communicate with your partner, and right now I feel like the biggest thing that people want to be able to communicate with their partner is that they need some time and space alone. Because when we are naturally into our habits, right, we get into our routines and our habits, and we're going out and we have our alone time, we have our spaces and all these things like that. For many people, having that time alone is extremely important. So being able to communicate with your partner and on the fact that you really just need some alone time, without them thinking that you're mad at them, or that, they're going to be like, oh, why, whatever the case may be. Right. And if it goes into that type of, are they talking to somebody else? That's deeper conversation that we can have. And this is what I work on with couples. This is part of the counseling that we do, is communication counseling, learning how to communicate with each other, their fears and why they're experiencing this, because typically it's past traumas that are coming up, and we cycle back in them, and we're not really understanding how to transmute them and move them through into the next, and then rise up into the next frequency. So anyways, so connecting with your partner, right? And this is all part of connecting. So coming to your partner with compassion, and saying, hey, and this is part of the conscious conversation. I'd like to speak with you. Is now an okay time? Are you energetically available? And if they're not, that's okay. The fact that you gave them that opportunity, they can say, well, no, right now I'm not, but I will be in, let's say, a couple of hours or an hour or so. And if they say that, then great. Okay, well, then let's connect in a couple of hours, because this is something important and I'd like to communicate with you. So then you get to the point, if they're like, yeah, I'm energetically, I'm here. I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? Let's do this. Then you can say, during this time right now, I find myself recognizing that I need space and time alone, and I haven't been able to understand how to communicate that to you without you thinking that there's something wrong, or that I'm angry or mad at you. And you may find that your partner has been wanting to have the same conversation with you and not sure how to bring it to you. And by you saying, I'm feeling this way, not you make me feel this way, but I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling this need for space right now for me to just have this individual connection. That frees up and loosens the tension that may come from this thought process that there will be tension in this conversation, if that makes any sense. You're bringing it onto you. You're expressing who you are, what you're feeling, and all that stuff from the truth, from yourself, from your heart. And so then your spouse, partner, they may end up feeling the exact same way, and they're like, oh my gosh, me too. I just wasn't sure how to talk to you about it because I'm not mad at you or anything, right? And it may just go into that. And then you guys can create a plan or create something for this new normal, right? I've been watching Mel Robbins, and she was talking about how this is our new normal right now. And it really is. We've got to recognize that the only time is now. Again, this is that time is an illusion thing, right? So there is only now. And so anyways, I started thinking for a second, and then I forgot where I was going with that. So I'm going to take a sip of coffee. So there's that aspect, right? There's that sign where your partner was like, oh my gosh, me too. That may be the response, and then the conversation goes off, and then you can create something for the new normal. Okay, well, I really enjoy this time of day, and your partner will be like, well, I really enjoy this time of day. Or if you both enjoy that time of day, you can work out a way where if you both like working out, and whatever the case may be. This gives you an opportunity as a couple to create something together that satisfies the feelings that you both want to feel. And this is how we manifest, right? So when you are able to do that with your partner and have that connection, right? So let's go into a little bit deeper conversation. Let's say something is bothering you. Your partner may have said something, or maybe not said something, but maybe just there's some things that have been building up and you haven't known how to bring it to your partner. And so they're bothering you and you really just need to talk. And typically you would just come at your partner and be like, you did this and you made me feel this way and blah, 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 right? And this is something that we're taught, right? We learn how to communicate through our parents. And if our parents don't know how to communicate, then we're learning how to communicate the way that they communicate, right? We learn how to love the way that our parents love because our parents are our first teachers. And when there's a disconnected relationship with love and communication with you and your parents, or your parents together, then there's going to be a disconnection with communication and compassion and love with you and your partner, because you're going to learn how to love by being loved. That's how it happens, right? So let's say that there's something that you really want to bring to your partner because it's bothering you and you just really want to talk about it. You want to move forward through this. You don't want to feel this way. You want to feel a certain way with your partner, and there's something that's bothering you and you need to communicate. So again, approaching your partner, hey, there's something really important I want to talk with you about. Are you energetically available right now? And if they're not energetically available, okay, when will you be available? And ask them that, but don't do it. But understand, lean into your compassion. They're going through their own stuff independently as well as collectively with the family and kids and all of that jazz, right? Work, all of that. So leaning into your compassion, if they're not energetically available at that time right then, when will they be? When, and express that this is something important. I really want to discuss it with you, but I want us both to be energetically available and connected during this conversation, right? So communication, compassion, and connection. If they are energetically available, then we begin. I feel this way when I see or hear you express or say or whatever. I am feeling this way when I see this happen. It's recognizing when you are bringing it to your partner that you are taking on the responsibility. You are owning your emotional response. You are not giving your power away to somebody else saying, you made me feel this way. Deja vu. What you're doing is you're owning the responsibility of your emotional response. And now you're consciously wanting to express it and transmute it. You no longer want to feel that emotional response, and you want to feel a different way. And the way to get to that way is through this conversation. And that's whether it's conversation with yourself, whether it's conversation with your partner, right? That's how we go through this. As I talk about going through the shadow and climbing the rose thorns to get to the petals at the top, right? It's going through that muck. It is the swamp. It is the quicksand that has a bottom to it, but you have to walk through it. And so you recognize and you're taking ownership of your emotional response, and that you are feeling this way because you're seeing this from your partner, and you're having this response to it. Now, understand that every single human that comes into our life, they come in for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and they are all a reflection of something that is internally. So you are seeing, you are feeling, you are recognizing these things within your partner, which are creating this emotional response within yourself, triggering an emotional response, which then now we can activate, a curiosity thought as to why am I having this emotional response? So you are taking ownership of that. And so recognizing that your partner right now is being a reflector for you, and you need to communicate this with them because you're trying to clear this out. You're trying to transmute this. You're wanting to rise up from this. Now your partner, of course, here is where the conscious conversation comes in. This is when your partner they are repeating to you what it is that you said. So that way you both understand and recognize that you both are understanding clearly why you are feeling this way. Now, what this does is when your partner repeats that to you, then they could ask, is there more? Because sometimes there is more. And when you first started off and you're trying to just get it out, right? Because I know for me, sometimes it's like before I was able to learn how to communicate, it would take forever. And it was like I would hold it in and trying to figure out for days on exactly what to say because I couldn't really put my words together. And in my head, it was so jumbled up. Because I was so in my head instead of allowing myself to feel confident that I was safe because I didn't feel safe in myself and empowered, root, sacral chakra, and solar plexus. I didn't feel that empowerment and safety within myself to express myself, right? So I would forget things and I wouldn't be able to say it, or I would like spew it out, and it would just be terrible. And when you go and communicate with your partner, let me just say this. You can even say this. You can say, hey, look, I want to express something. I may not say it right. I may fumble and I may feel like it may not sound right. It may just sound all jumbled, but I feel like I need to start somewhere to get this out. And I'll get better at communicating. And recognize that within yourself and acknowledge that within yourself, that you're choosing right now to get better at communicating, not only with yourself, but with your partner. You're wanting to communicate and have this healthy, compassionate, and connected relationship with them. And especially right now. And so if there's more, then say, yes, there is more. And if there's not, then say, no, that's pretty much it. Then this gives your partner an opportunity to say, okay, can I express my particular side? And then let them express their feelings and their perspective of it. Well, when I say this or express this, I'm feeling this way, or I'm feeling that way, or whatever the case may be. And by you opening up the conversation, by owning the responsibility of your emotional responses and wanting to clearly, consciously communicate through this, it takes off that defensiveness, and then your partner feels safe to communicate. By you grounding into the safety of yourself, you're giving the space and the platform and the safety for your partner to communicate. And that is really such an ultimate gift. Because a lot of us out there, and we're starting to recognize as we're really in this age right now, I mean, 2020 is crazy as fuck, right? But like, we're really shifting in that masculine energy, that our solar plexus chakra is really starting to, it's like this pulsating aspect. Like I just feel it like pulsating. It's like pulsating out a bit and then coming back in, and then pulsating out a bit and then coming back in as it's swirling. You know what I'm saying? It's like a swirling pulsing. And again, I don't know if you've heard, if I've expressed, I don't think I've on my stories, I've expressed my theory as to the toilet paper issue that has happened during this particular time here in the States. But like, our root chakra is so out of whack right now as a collective because the tower is falling, right? Because the perspective is starting to shift and awaken to the feeling of themselves. People are becoming more emotionally aware, 4114, emotionally aware. And as we become emotionally aware, then we become consciously curious, curiously conscious. And that's just it. We hear this word trigger so often. I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered. But what is it that you're utilizing that trigger for? Ask yourself, I'm feeling triggered in this emotion is happening. I'm feeling triggered. Well, then get curious. Why is this emotion being triggered? That's where we start to do the work. Right. And usually coming from somebody who's experienced multiple different addictions, we don't want to get curious. We just feel that feeling. We don't want to feel it. So we chase it away with something that masks it and falsely gives us some sort of pleasure. So we see in that whole experience right there, communicating with your partner, you're coming from a place of compassion, compassion for yourself and compassion for them as individual humans. You are in a partnership, but, they're not yours, you're not theirs. You are both independently living interdependently. And that's really where we're going as a collective society, is learning how to ground our security and safetyness and our true knowingness that we are fully supported, allowing our creative energies and feeling empowered in our creative energies and connective and passions and joys and desires, and recognizing that we are here to experience those things. Our lower chakras are our physical human senses. So by denying ourselves the alignment of these chakras and the healing of these, we are denying the human experience of our five senses. We're wanting as humans to kind of just get to that next level, right? We want to be in this, I want to, astral travel and, meditation and all of these amazing, cosmic, divine, magical, wonderful things. But we forget that we chose to come to this experience and experience this time right now, experience these physical emotions, this experience the experience itself, right? How many times can I fucking say experience, right? So about as many times as I can say frequency. But having that compassion while you're communicating really deepens that connection, which is part of that human experience. So as we're going through this time right now, practicing sexual alchemy, transmutation, orgasmic healing, and orgasmic manifestation is really, really powerful right now. Because we are in a state where we are needing to consciously choose every single step and experience that we have, right? When we go into survival mode independently, every single sense is on tap. Like all of our nerve endings are fucking going. We have adrenaline running through us tremendously, which is why some people are like, what is going on with my body? There's massive amounts of adrenaline that's going through, which of course runs right along with cortisol. So these are things that our body, which is part of our egoic system as well, our body is, these are things that keep our bodies moving in this survival mode. Now, I've lived in survival mode my entire life, so I recognize very clearly when these things are happening. So I have to consciously choose compassion for myself, communicate consciously with my body, and then really connect through into my core frequency, and then ground it through. And I connect through my sacral chakra. So how can you utilize orgasmic healing during this time? You can really choose what it is that you have been running from, right? We start to see that what we thought was a priority isn't necessarily our priorities, right? And so a lot of us, our priorities have been out of whack, and this is a reset for us. I just saw the hangman come through. Most of us, we don't want to actually reset that button because we get into this cycle and then we're automatically into this co-pilot, and then we get comfortable. And when we get comfortable, we recognize that we'll need a change, and change is uncomfortable at times. And so the hangman forces us to pause and then shift into a different perspective. So during this time right now, we can utilize this different perspective to recognize where our priorities have been. What are our priorities? And our priorities is, how do we want to feel? When we are manifesting and we're going for all these goals and everything like that, right? When we have that physical goal, and I just using like physical because weight loss or weight gain or muscles or whatever it is, whatever physical goal you have, when we obtain that goal, it's not the actual goal that we love. It's a wonderful vindication, satisfaction of hard work, but it's the feeling that we feel. We feel accomplished. We feel satisfied, right? Serotonin's running through our brain. Oxytocin's running through our brains and all of our body, right? We're feeling connected with ourselves and the community. We're feeling all of these wonderful feelings, right? Emotions. And these emotions have frequencies with them. Joy, gratitude, excitement, pleasure, all of these wonderful things. And when we feel those are the natural feelings that we have. Those are the natural feelings we're supposed to feel. So we want more of that, right? And so then we start to choose our actionable steps, right? So if we're feeling a certain way and we don't want to feel that way anymore, how do you want to feel? So get clear this time. How do I want to feel right now? It's not how you want to feel tomorrow or the next day or a week from now or a month from now, because ultimately all we have is now, the presence of the moment of now. This is where we live. This is where we are. All of us right now are in our now moments now. Now. So, how do you want to feel now? And when we can do that, this also helps with our anxiety, right? This is where Stiff Pal comes in. I've been working with anxiety, panic attacks, not only for myself, but for, my daughter and lots of other people in my life. And so Stiff Pal was created when my daughter was 2. And it's stop, think, focus, pay attention, and listen. And this stops everything. It stops the momentum of where we're going. Stop, focus. Stop, think, right? Think about what it is that you're at, right? Focus, pay attention, and listen. It puts you into the present moment of now. And when we are in the present moment of now, the anxiety isn't there because there is no worry of happening before or future. We're in the moment of now. And this is what this time is giving us this gift of. Even through this fear, this uncertainty, this is the opportunity to be present in the moment of now. And your presence in this moment of now is magical, is empowered, is amazing. I mean, all of these wonderful words that I can't think of right now. So where are your priorities? Where have they been? Where are they now? How do you want to feel? And then check in with yourself. Are you communicating compassionately and having that connection with yourself, right? How are you looking at the collective, right? We see people in this state of panic. We see them in this state of panic because a lot of people haven't done this survival work. And that's okay. There's no judgment. How could we judge, right? There's comparison and judgment are basically, it's like by judging somebody else, it's like comparing yourself to somebody else, right? There is no comparison because we are all our own frequency. We are all our own life experience. While we are all connected to source energy, while we are all part of the ocean, our signature imprint, right? Our fingerprints, right? Our eyes, our physical and emotional and energetic expression is our own individual experience through this particular game and frequency. And so my desires and dreams are not your desires and dreams. Your desires and dreams aren't their desires and dreams. So comparing and then judging just completely removes all the work that you do to achieve your desires and dreams. It basically throws up the game board, right? So it's like basically by judging and comparing ourselves, this is hilarious. I just fucking had this by judging and comparing ourselves with other people, right? Judging other people, judging ourselves, comparing other people, comparing ourselves, right? By doing this thing, basically all we're doing in the game of life is we're just throwing up the game board, right? You get pissed off at Monopoly, you just fucking throw up the game board, right? I know I'm not the only one who's done that in my life, right? Okay, I get this. I used to have lots of anger issues, all right? But that's basically what we're doing. We're just like, fuck the game, whatever. And you're not even giving yourself the opportunity to create a new game board. Oh my God. Anyways, this episode ended up being an hour long, and I hope that my ramblings helped in one way, shape, or form. But as you go through and you start to use orgasmic healing and manifesting, right? How do you want to feel? Set that intention and ground it in, right? When we are going through and we are, I'm going to do another episode. I work with my clients on this and really walk through orgasmic healing aspects. The manifestation part is part of the fun. That's the play and the creative aspect that you can do with yourself and your partner. You can also heal orgasmically yourself and your partner and your relationship. Not utilizing sex as a form of bypassing, but communicating through compassion and then having that connection and utilizing the frequencies that you both are orgasmically going through and grounding that in independently and into your relationship. So there's a lot of magic that can be happening right now. So choosing your priorities, learning how to communicate with your partner in this moment in time, and learning how to communicate with others. People out there are afraid. And when people are afraid, that's basically our egos leading because we're in the survival mode. They don't know how to communicate because they're not communicating through grounded heart frequency. They're communicating through fear. So you having compassion and being able to communicate clearly through your compassion, you will be able to then provide a form of safety space for somebody else to be able to relax a little bit and communicate back. Now, you're not here to save everybody. You're not here to save the world. You're not here to save anything. We're not here to save anything. We're here to express and expand love through everything. Oh, God. We're here to express and expand love through everything. And love is also recognizing when to detach, right? Which we'll make that a whole nother episode. If you'd like an episode on detachment and recognizing when to detach with relationships, whatever the relationship, let me know. I'm going to end this right now because it is an hour long, especially with my intro. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it helped in one way, shape, or form. We're going to get through this. This is part of an experience that we're here living. And when we choose to consciously be present in the moment of now, we can release the anxiety and the fear, and we can experience joy, even through survival mode. Even through survival mode, we can recognize and experience joy. It's redirecting. When I say priorities and prioritizing, it's prioritizing how you feel. Because when we feel that joy, we are able to collect more in. So no matter what you're going through right now, you are not alone. You are not alone. You've never been alone, and you will never be alone. There are those of us in the physical world who have experienced, who are experiencing, who will experience exactly the feelings that you are feeling now. Allow yourself to feel, accept the feelings, accept the experience of what this new now moment is, and then move those feelings through. Journal, work out, walk, jump up and down, get outside and sit on the ground. Whatever it is that you can do to move those emotions through is important. And you want to move those emotions through before you start to orgasmically heal, because when you are utilizing your orgasmic energy, you are really grounding in that healing. That is the transmutation process. You are ready to fully transmute it, but you've got to do the work. And the work comes with the expression of that emotion, allowing yourself to heal it and feel it and move it through. So now I'm done. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of my community. Come follow me on Instagram at sexual.alchemist, I am on Facebook. But I don't post a lot on, I do, but I like have more fun on my Instagram. So definitely come hang out and follow me over there. We can connect over there. And I do have a group on Facebook. I haven't been in there as much. I work the matrix, in the mortgage aspect of the matrix. So my matrix works as mortgages, and my purpose is sex, sexual healing. Marvin Gaye had it right. So definitely can follow me on Instagram. If you'd like to be in my Facebook group, Sexual Alchemy, Magic and Sexual Alchemy, you can find me on Facebook as well. I do have a like page. It's Michelle Torrance, Sexual Alchemist. But again, Instagram is where I'm at. And yeah, so thank you again. And I will check y'all on the next episode. Later.